Floral. I've never gone live before, so bear with me. We're gonna see how this goes. Hopefully you guys, somebody joins, at least one person. So what I'm gonna show you guys today is how to make a flower arrangement. So I've got my supplies here. I've got this foam. This is Oasis Floral Foam. And then I've got a vessel. You can get any sort of vessel you want. Pruners are essential. You don't want to use scissors because scissors, when you cut the flowers, they actually crush the stem a little bit. Then they're not able to uptake water, so you need pruners. And then I've got a cutting board and a knife just to cut my Oasis Floral Foam. For my flowers today, I've got a couple different ones. I've got this waxflower right here. And then I've got, this is leatherleaf fern, just using that for my greenery. And then for my flowers, I've got these disbud mums. So disbud means that there's just one flower on a stem compared to like a spray mum, which would have multiple blooms coming off of that single stem. And then I've got these mini carnations and baby's breath. So my main focal flower are these mums, and then I have the baby's breath and the waxflower as the filler, and then these ones here are kind of a mid-size one that I'm going to be adding into it. So my first thing I'm going to do is cut my floral foam to size. So I'm just going to kind of put it here over my vessel just to give myself kind of an idea of where to cut. So I'm just going to score it a little bit here and then put it on my cutting board and give it a cut, and then check, oh, made it a little too big, so let's just shave off another little piece of it, and that's a good size. So we need to soak it. So an important thing to know about when you're doing floral foam is you just place it on top of the water and then you just let it sink itself. So you're not going to push it into the water because that creates air bubbles which do not contain water, and then your flowers aren't fully hydrated. So I'm just letting it soak in here and letting it become hydrated. When you're buying floral foam, you need to make sure that it's the type that is meant to be wet, because if you use the dry stuff that's more for fake flowers, it doesn't hold water. So it's super critical that you get the wet floral foam. You can really pick this up anywhere. You can get it at like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, or a florist like eFloral. So it's about soaked through now. There you go. So you get an idea of how long that takes. And then it's really heavy now because it's all full of water. So I'm just letting it get a little bit dripping out. Oh, I got a couple people joining saying hello. Thank you guys for joining in. So I'm gonna take my foam and then I'm just putting it into my vessel like so. So for those of you just joining here, I'm making a flower arrangement and I am going to start by prepping my flowers. So when you get flowers, they often have ugly leaves on the stem. So I'm just gonna pull those leaves off. And I'm just gonna pull those off so that way there's no flowers or leaves on the stem. Mums always have this netting on them, and that's to protect the flower head. So I'm just gonna give that a pull off, and there you go, the mum head is all the way out. Sometimes you'll have flowers that snap off, like this guy, we lost him. If they are not too short, I'll always just keep them if I'm doing my wedding flower arrangements, because I could use those in boutonnieres or something like that. But for this case, I'm just making this here just for today, so I'm not gonna have any use for those. So prepping is what I always do first before I actually start arranging, and I find that makes things a lot easier to get going once I have everything all prepped up. So I'm going to do all my flowers, giving them a prep. For my mini carnations, you can see there's a lot of flowers that are on a single stem. So I might not use all of those, but I haven't decided yet. So I'm just gonna keep these in one piece. I always start out by what's called greening an arrangement. So that's by putting your greenery in first. I have leatherleaf. And I'm gonna take my pruners and just trim off the ones that are kind of janky. So this one here just kind of broke. And so I'm gonna give that a trim on an angle with my pruners, not scissors, pruners. And then I'm going to insert it into the arrangement, into the foam. And you need to make sure that it's in a couple inches to make sure that it has water to drink. I'm gonna do a couple of these big sized, and then I'm gonna take a couple of them and actually just cut them smaller And then if you are putting them into your foam, you need to pull off the side pieces here because you can't actually push the the leaves into the foam because that will congest the foam. So I'm just taking my greenery and putting it into my foam. Okay, so now I've got my greenery in my foam. So I'm not gonna put a ton of greenery in. It's up to you, obviously, how much greenery you wanna put in, but I'm just doing a bit here. Then the next thing that I do is my big flowers. So I always do big flowers. First, I'm gonna lower this a bit so you guys can see the arrangement a little bit better. Oh, there you go. So I always do the big flowers first. So these are my Disbud mums, and I'm gonna put them in a couple different heights. So I'm gonna start some up high, and then I'm gonna do some a little bit lower. I'm gonna make this arrangement so it's front facing, so you can't see everything from all the way around. It's more just a front facing arrangement. Giving it a cut, nice and low. And when I'm putting in these flowers, I wanna make sure that they don't look like eyeballs. So I don't wanna stick this one here. I always wanna have some higher and some lower. So let's see, like that. And then when I'm going around, I can kind of play with it. So I'm finding like this one is a little bit too far out, so I can just kind of move it back in. And I just keep adding in a couple mums in different spots until I'm happy with how they look. Pulling off all these leaves on the side. I think I'm gonna do 3 big mums here. And then I'm gonna add in these mini carnations for some visual interest. Mini carnations always have some that don't open like this, and then these ones here that are kind of open, and then the full-sized bloom here. And like I mentioned, I don't want to put this entire bloom in, so I'm going to cut it into a couple different pieces and then just kind of stagger this around my arrangement. So it would look kind of funny if you put all of these blooms all together and then cutting off any sort of side shoots that just don't make sense. So my process is always greenery first, then big flowers, then these mid-sized flowers, and then I end it with the filler flowers. So this is kind of a budget arrangement, which I thought would be nice to show you guys because this is super attainable for anybody's sort of budget, but is rather than using mums for the main flower, you could use something more bougie. If you're doing like a wedding arrangement, you could do ranunculus is a super great one to use, or Lysianthus. But these are hands down the most affordable way to go is mums and carnations. So if you're trying to keep your wedding on a budget, 100% this is the way to go. Okay, now it's starting to get a little bit of structure. I am doing this backwards, so it's a little tricky for me to see actually what it looks like. So I'm gonna take a look here. So I'm not the happiest with this one here. I'm just gonna cut it down a tiny bit. And there we go. Now I'm gonna add in my filler flower. So this wax flower is my favorite to use as a filler flower. It comes from California and sometimes it comes from Australia, it just depends on the type of year. So if I was going to be making boutonnieres, this little piece here that's kind of janky, it broke, I would keep it actually for my boutonnieres. Try not to throw away anything because flowers are expensive. What I love actually about wax flower is that it has like this really pretty foliage. So again, for a boutonniere, I would keep this piece and I would actually stick this on my boutonniere as well. So the purpose of filler flowers, as you can kind of guess, is to fill in spaces. So I'm going to take this wax flower and just put it throughout my arrangement, filling in all the spaces. And wax flower is so awesome because you can pull off pieces and then you have lots to work with. And it has an amazing smell and is just so easy to incorporate in all your arrangements. Wax flower comes in pink, white, and purple. Those are the 3 colors that it comes in. So today I'm obviously using this pink one, but yeah, there's a couple different colors that you can use. So now there's no flowers left on here, but I've got some pretty greenery. So I actually will use this greenery in my arrangement too, just to, again, keep filling it in. So let's just add those in throughout. Let's take a peek at what it's looking like now. So my last filler option I have here is baby's breath. So it's known as gyp as well. There's a couple different types of gyp out there, and they all kind of have this single stem with all these florets coming off of it. Again, awesome as a filler because I have lots of pieces to work with. So I'm going to cut these off and put them all throughout my arrangement. So if you are planning on getting married soon and you're trying to be on a budget, hands down, this is the cheapest and most affordable way to do your wedding flowers is by DIYing them yourself and then choosing mums and carnations for your arrangement. That will be the cheapest, and this leather leaf is really cheap too. Another tip if you're trying to save money is you could source your greenery yourself depending on where you live. So I'm here on Vancouver Island, and so there's salal everywhere, so you could go legally, of course, and find salal and cut that, and that's really great for using in arrangements, or cedar if you're trying to get kind of a Christmassy vibe. So those are good options to collect your own greenery. And I've got all my filler all in there, and I think I'm done. I'm pretty happy with it here. So then how to take care of it, I'm just gonna lift this up. Whoa. So in order to keep this staying fresh and hydrated, it has the foam in it which we soak, so it has some water in it, but if you're going to keep this for a couple days, the foam will obviously dry out. So then I would just put this in like under my faucet and fill it with water, and then the foam would rehydrate. And the reason why I'm using this foam is, one, because it hydrates, but another reason is that it makes it so you have a structure to put the flowers in. If I didn't have this foam here and I stuck all these flowers in, I wouldn't be able to get this sort of height. It would sort of flop all over. But there are definitely some people who don't like floral foam, so another option could be to use chicken wire, and then your flowers can stick within the chicken wire grid as well. So I think that's about all that I'm gonna talk about today. Is there anything, Adam, is there anything in comments I haven't addressed? Anybody have any questions before I head out? Thanks everybody for watching my very first live, and I'll do more of these if you guys like them. Let me know if you like them, and like and subscribe on my channel. Thanks everybody.